Hello everybody, this is the iPhone channel here, and today I'm actually going to be reviewing the new iPhone 15 Plus, which is the biggest sibling of the regular iPhone 15. Now this iPhone 15 Plus actually starts at $900, and the regular 15, which has a 6.1 inch display, which is a slightly smaller display than the 6.7 inch, actually starts at $800. But if you want an unlocked version like I am having now, it will cost you $30 extra. Now, as for storage, there are actually three storage options for the iPhone 15, 15 Plus, and 15 Pro, which are 128, 256, and 512 gigs. And the only difference between the regular 15 and 15 Plus is the screen and the battery, as the iPhone 15 Plus actually does have a 6.7 inch, whilst the iPhone 15 has a 6.1 inch, and the iPhone 15 Plus has a slightly bigger battery and longer battery life. Otherwise, the iPhone 15 and 15 Plus are basically identical in every single feature. Now, as you notice, there's one big feature with the iPhone 15 and 15 Plus as compared to the regular 14 and 14 Plus, and that is, you guessed it, the dynamic island rather than a notch. Originally exclusive to the Pro models, the dynamic island has finally trickled down to the regular 15 and 15 Plus, and another new feature as compared to the older model is actually USB-C, due to an EU mandate in the past 3 years which forced companies to switch to USB-C no later than next year. However, unlike the 15 Pro and 15 Pro Max, which is a USB 3.0 standard, this is actually a USB 2.0 standard with speeds of up to 480 megabits per second rather than 10 gigabits per second like on the Pro. One of the benefits the 15 and 15 Plus has over the 14 and 14 Plus is actually the brightness. As you can see, this phone is currently at its max brightness, and for typical usage, the iPhone 14 and 14 Plus actually goes up to around 800 nits, and over here it is upgraded to 1000 nits, and for HDR from the 14 to 15, it is 1200 to 1600, and if you go outdoors, the 15 and 15 Plus actually goes up to 2000 nits for outdoors. Another change the 15 and 15 Plus has over the 14 and 14 Plus is actually the back. As you can see, rather than having the glossy glass back, it now has a more matte glass, kind of like the Pro models, and as you can see, the edges are much smoother compared to the 14 and 14 Plus. And just like other iPhone 15 and iPhone 14 models, this iPhone 15 Plus does have IP68 waterproof rating, which means it could go up to 6 meters, up to 30 minutes of water. Now, unlike the iPhone Pro models, this iPhone still has the old silent switch, and it does not have the action button. Now, even though the iPhone 15 and 15 Plus does have a 460 pixel per inch screen as well as dynamic island, just like the iPhone 14 Pro and 14 Pro Max, unfortunately, ProMotion is not trickled down to the regular iPhone 15 models. Instead, the iPhone 15 and 15 Plus still has the old 60 Hz display. Many Android phones at this price point would have either 90 or 120 Hz, which is quite insane that this phone still has 60 Hz. Also, there is no always on display, which has been on the S7 since like 2016, which is 7 years ago. Now, there is a major disadvantage between this model and the Pro model, as since the 14 and 14 Plus, Apple has divided the regular and the Pro model, giving the regular model a performance disadvantage with the previous gen processors, as this iPhone 15 Plus actually does have an A16 rather than the A17, which means it will be slightly slower than the 15 Pro and 15 Pro Max, but the iPhone 15 and 15 Plus luckily is still going to be as fast as the 14 Pro and 14 Pro Max. With the A16 chip, it does have 2 performance cores and 4 efficiency cores, which means 6 CPU cores as well as 5 GPU cores rather than 6 CPU and 6 GPU, just like on the 15 Pro. And this phone does have 6 GB of RAM rather than 8, unlike the 15 Pro. Now, the iPhone 15 Plus actually has a 4400 mAh battery, which albeit is slightly lower than the 15 Pro Max, is still much higher than the 15 or 15 Pro and would definitely outlast both the 15 and 15 Pro in terms of battery life. Now, just like in the unboxing video, I'll point out the new material for the USB-C chargers included in the box. As you can see, there's a new fabric, just like on the MacBook M1 and M2, as opposed to the old Lightning connector. As you can see, Lightning to USB-C versus USB-C to USB-C. As you can see, there is a materials difference. I do believe these are actually more durable than these, because my Lightning connectors always break in about 6 months or 12 months or something. It's crazy. Now, even though some Android phones such as the OnePlus 11 5G could handle up to 80 watts, this phone could handle wired charging up to 20 watts, which is quite low in today's standards. But the iPhone 15 Plus, according to many reviewers, would charge from 0 to 15 in about 30 minutes and would take about 90 minutes to charge from 0 to 100. Now, even though many newer Android phones and the iPhone 15 Pro and 15 Pro Max do support Wi-Fi 6E, the regular iPhone 15 and 15 Plus is just like the iPhone 14 and 14 Pro with Wi-Fi 6, which is an older Wi-Fi standard, which is slightly slower than Wi-Fi 6E. But luckily, this phone does have Bluetooth 5.3 as well as the second gen ultra wideband chip. Now, even though the iPhone 14 and iPhone 15 in the US market only have an eSIM, in other markets, the iPhone 15 Plus as well as 15 and 14 and 15 Pro and 15 Pro Max do come with the nano SIM tray. Now, the last thing I'll cover in this video, guys, is the camera. As you can see, there's actually an ultra wide camera as well as the main 48 megapixel camera, which is actually converted to a 24 megapixel shots that are sharp and bright in the dark. And as you can see, there is actually a 2x zoom setting, and that is because there is 2x optical zoom, unlike the 14 and 14 Plus, which only has digital zoom. And for this optical 2x zoom, it is actually captured from the central 12 megapixel part of the 48 megapixel sensor. And I'll show you guys what the camera results look like in the camera test. Now, as for the ultra wide camera, it is actually a 12 megapixel camera with an aperture of 2.4, and this phone does support up to 4K 60 frames per second video recording in both the back and the front. And the front camera is actually a 12 megapixel camera, just like the Pro models and the previous models. Okay, guys, the last thing I'll show you guys before the verdict is actually the camera test. Now, according to these photographs, these images are quite sharp, and as you can see, there's a ton of detail and good color exposure. This is actually a video comparison between the iPhone 14 Pro Max and the iPhone 15 Plus. As you can see, both are in 4K 60 frames per second, and this is what the camera looks like. As you can see, both cameras are quite good, but I'm yet to watch the video to actually give you a summary of the camera of both the 14 Pro Max and the 15 Plus. And this is the portrait mode. And as you can see, guys, this is actually the front camera. I'm sorry I did not show my face. Okay, guys, this is actually the selfie footage between the iPhone 15 Plus and the iPhone 14 Pro Max. As you can see, this is what my face looks like, and let's just go around. As you can see, this is what the selfie footage look like. Both are actually in 4K 60 frames per second, and none of them are in landscape mode because I don't have a mount. So I'm actually carrying both of these phones using both of my hands, which is kind of a bit inconvenient. But as you can see, this is what the selfie camera test actually looks like. As you can see, guys, this is the 2x optical zoom on the 12 megapixel camera. This is 3x digital zoom, which is not as sharp as the 2x optical zoom. And this is the ultra wide camera. As you can see, all these photographs, including this one on the main camera, are quite sharp with accurate exposure and good colors. Okay, guys, here's the verdict. Is the iPhone 15 Plus a good phone? Yes, it is a good phone. Should I buy it? The answer is, if you want a phone that is new with a good battery life and you're on a budget of $900 and you also want a big screen, then yes, this phone is good. But if you could find a used iPhone 14 Pro Max for under $900, then I do believe you should buy the iPhone 14 Pro Max, which does have more features such as a telephoto camera with 3x optical zoom, always on display, 120 Hz, and some extra new features. But the bad thing about the 14 Pro Max is the battery life would slightly be less because it has more features. And also, battery does depreciate over time, so you're not going to get a 100% capacity on the battery. But if you don't really mind the battery and you want extra features and you don't mind that the phone is new, I do think the 14 Pro Max is a better value than this 15 Plus, but it's up to you to decide. So thank you guys for watching. Please give a big thumbs up, subscribe for more videos, and as you can see, these are the phones. I'm actually going to be doing a comparison between the 14 Pro Max and the 15 Plus in an upcoming video, so see you guys then.